right, Coach, we're heading back on the road. Rematch with LaSalle Sunday, followed by VCU on Wednesday. So obviously, key stretch here for the team.
Yeah, we're coming into a game with LaSalle where we already played them one time, tough game. In reviewing the game, and looking back, there's some things clearly that hopefully we're going to have to be able to do better on the road. But just bouncing back off of the Richmond game and in general, just trying to improve and taking it game by game. We know it's you're back down to the back couple weeks here. So each one's important. Each one is the ability to stop, so to speak, the bleeding and continue to climb the ladder of the conference standings all the way into the end. And LaSalle's an opportunity for us to, get back on the road and get going. But it won't be easy. They're playing really well, back-to-back wins at home against two good teams in UMass and St. Bonaventure. They got a great backcourt. They play really well together. And, at home, they're a much different team than they will be here. We know that. So, for us, how good can we be over the next 2 days is probably the most important thing. Can we continue to kind of clean some things up and improve and just inch by inch? And we're doing some good things right now. There's some things that stand out that obviously we're doing well, but there's some things that obviously we're not doing well enough to get into the winner's circle, and most of that starts on the defensive side of the ball. So as we come into the LaSalle game, I think, that approach that we have, being able to play hard on the road, can we rebound the ball well? Can we guard the ball well? Those are going to be huge factors as we go, into this game. And, I think, we're going to have to work at it here the next few days. It's a day at a time.
You're in a situation right now where you can't win a regular season title. You won't be an at-large team for the NCAA tournament. So
Yeah.
How do teams in a spot like that, how do they motivate with 4 or 5 games left in the regular season and approach a conference tournament?
I think we talk about, hopefully developing a culture here where you're competing for yourself. You're competing for yourself as an individual player every day to get better, to earn your stripes. You're competing for your own futures, developing your own future, within this game, within your role, within your future here. And you're also competing for each other because you need each other to be able to get to the winner's circle. So the harder you push through, and it's really, in my mind, it's the dog days of light at the end of the tunnel. Teams are in different stages. And for us, our quest isn't, so to speak, to win a championship today, but are you evolving? Are you as a player finding that opportunity when things aren't going real well to break through? And that gives you that roadmap for the rest of your life and anything that you're doing that you have to continue to show up. You have to continue to keep pounding the rocks. You have to keep, even when it's hard. And that gives you that roadmap at some other point in time in your life that you can. You have to go through it. And I think for our team right now, there's a lot of winnable games on the schedule. And one win can do wonders for you as you head into the postseason and develop, some positive momentum. And for us, it's about LaSalle. At the end of the day, we have to be as locked in as we possibly can on that. That's the only focus. And I know that's easier said than done, but keeping our guys in a spirit to come to work right now and can we prepare ourselves to be good? And I think part of it is, like I said, though, individual coaches, individual staffs, individual players, we're all competing right now for something. Maybe it's not that big grand prize tomorrow, but at the end of the day, you are competing every day. You're competing for your future, you're competing for yourself, you're competing for each other. You're trying to find a way to give yourself a blueprint, not only now, but later down the line on how to do things the right way.
It's easy to have energy for practice when you're on a winter or film or
It
anything
is.
else. I would imagine you find out a lot about your staff members and your guys in times like this.
No question about it. I mean, there's 330 some teams right now that are probably searching the portal, hate each other. Coaches don't like players, players don't like coaches. What's the next stop? Blah, 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 blah. It's not how it works. And I think the bottom line is you as the head coach have to steamroll that mission of your staff to be locked in and make the players better right now. Hard as it may seem. Sometimes they don't even want to be better right now, you know what I mean? But you have to fight that good fight so at the end of the day they know you're with them. And I think the bottom line is, we're in the same boat as a lot of people right now. We're fighting for our lives, so to speak. And, I think, what we're trying to do is make sure that we're going in there today, making our guys better, giving them a bounce about themselves that we can play well on Sunday. We've shown we can play some good basketball. We've also shown that we have some serious holes in our roof that need plugged. And I don't know if all of them are going to get plugged, but we're going to work really hard to try and stop one of them. that may help us.
How much is defensive intensity being preached in practice, and is it getting through?
I would say it's been our battle. It's been our hardest battle, is to mesh this group, to develop a chemistry and a belief that defense is not only the utmost importance, but it's the way you can win. A lot of different types of games, and especially as you're in a great conference like ours, you're playing against good teams. You got to hang your hat on something. Sometimes the shots don't go in, the free throws don't go in, but your defense is there. And I think that's the thing we've tried to preach the hardest. Probably as a coaching staff, the most disappointed I've been as a coach, just being able to improve. You don't have to be great. You don't have to be the defensive team of the year, but like our improvement level just hasn't been there. And I think that starts with me. What have I missed? And being able to mesh our guys, to get our guys to be cohesive, to understand where we're at, what we're supposed to be doing, when we're supposed to be doing it, has been a real challenge. And I think at the end of the day, there's intent. There's guys that want to do well, but there's not a chemistry, with our group. I think that's probably been the thing that's really hurt us the most as we've gone through some highs and lows, is just that belief when things get hard, you have to be able to rely on that toughness level, the grit, to be able to fight. And there's still plenty of time, though, to be able to break it through, find a way to win a game with your defense, be able to make a game-winning play on defense. As an individual player, can you have that one game that you made 3 or 4 plays from the defensive side of the ball that shows that that impacts winning as much as scoring? So it's every day. It'll be there today. It'll be there. Strive all the way to the end to get a little bit better and find that way. But defense is important here. It'll always be important here, of the utmost importance. And I think that's probably been something that it's been hard to mesh a group of 13 guys, 10 guys new, some returning guys with inexperience, just putting it all together on that side of the ball, maybe with some offensive-minded guys or more talented guys on offense in their careers. The defensive side of the ball has been something that's been very, very challenging. And as a coach, I take that to heart. I didn't so far be able to really, really put that together for our guys. But it is the utmost importance as we develop as a program that's something that not only we're known for, but we believe in.
How tough is it now, we're in February, late in the season, to break bad habits that have maybe built up throughout the entire year?
Yeah, I think, the bottom line is this time of year, a lot of people say you are who you are, but I don't believe that, because I believe at this time of year it's more mental than physical. And if you want to, if you're striving to, if you're beating that door down to just get a little bit better, try, hard, coachable, whatever it may be. If you mentally are engaged, you can change the course of not only your own personal growth as a player, but you could change the course of your team by having a couple guys move in the right direction. So as much as it is, a challenge, it's also, it's an opportunity, and I think, these back couple weeks, you've been a part of teams as a player, as a coach, where you've seen guys really finish strong. At the end of the day, you're proud of that. And whether it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or maybe it's the last 2 games of the year, that means they're engaged. That means they were really trying to, hard to embrace the hard times of February. So I think that's the quest, is the individual. But it's mental right now as much as it is physical. Can we mentally be there? Are we right? Are we trying? And as a coaching staff, that's what we have to be able to be on top of and be more in tune with, more so than actually the physical exertion. This time of year, there's certain teams that are probably practicing 45 minutes a day. They have it down. They know what they're doing. They're in sync. There's certain teams that are probably going 3 hours a day, just trying to beat it out of them. I don't know. I know with us, it's more mental and it's more teaching than it is anything. And they embrace that. Hopefully our guys understand that we're in it with them, and at the end of the day, we're just trying to make them a little bit better.
This team is obviously much better offensively than the one you had last year. I wonder if in recruiting and evaluation, do you sort of make compromises? Would you look going forward and say, I'll take a guy who's maybe a little offensively deficient because defensively we need to get better, or we need to be more physical in some way?
I think every year is probably a little different on need-based. I think as you recruit high school players, especially for us, it's the old school approach of that guy could be successful in our system. We can develop that guy. He fits the mold. I think when you're moving into the transfer portal, sometimes you're so honed in on need, immediate impact, We're really struggling in this area. We can't shoot, whatever it may be. We need a shooter, whatever it may be. You try to identify needs, and there's probably some give and take with that full out evaluation, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? With the high school kid, you know, maybe you recruit that guy for 2 years, you know, his family, you know, his high school coaches, you know, where he's come from, you know, you believe in that process. Sometimes in this portal, it's so fast, it's need-based. In our case, I think the challenge is it isn't, hey, we need a shooter. I think as we evaluated what we had to do, I think we overhauled a roster that was in maybe the worst offensive team in school history, one of them, statistically. I think it was one of the worst offensive teams in college basketball last year in terms of scoring power, shooting, whatever it may have been. And there was a distinct need for talent and the ability level to get better on that side of the ball. And I don't think you neglect, at the end of the day, say, hey, let's get all offensive players and not worry about defense this year. I think you assume, as you're in this deal, that with what you've done in your past as a coach and a staff and how you teach, you're going to be able to mold a team to be able to play hard and play together and do all those things. But you need better talent. You need more offensive firepower. And I think, you know, maybe in our case, there's just too much of newness. I've never done this before. That really hasn't been my role at the other. But whatever it may be, I do think as you look at our team's growth offensively, there are significant statistical, like, wow, that's a lot different. They're much better on offense. They're probably still not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but offensively, especially here of late, there's some guys from a talent perspective. We can score the ball, we can draw fouls, we can, you know, obviously put the ball in the basket a little bit. We're probably, you know, on the upper tier of that in terms of the conference, and saying they have some options there. From a team perspective, defensively though, the coachability, the knowledge, the been there, done that before, that really hasn't been, you know, come together. And I think that's where I say that mesh of just so much newness has really impacted that side of the ball from a personality standpoint. So now, what do you do now? You go recruit 10 defensive linemen?
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's go get 4 defensive linemen, a couple linebackers. It's not like that, you know what I mean? I think defense is culture. Part of culture is retention, development, going through it, getting young guys to get older. They don't have to learn as much anymore, so inherently they're better. They get through it. You keep growing that side of the ball. And I think, you know, part of what, you know, overhauls happen, or, you know, massive roster reconstruction, is there is some give and take to the culture of getting better in development. Hopefully we get to a stage where we are adding pieces to the fabric of a culture. Guys coming back now know what to do. There's a little less teaching. There's a little bit more reps under their belt where they're naturally better. And hopefully we're moving in that direction. But it's a different time in college sports. It's a different time, and you talk to any coach in the country right now, and they all kind of look at you the same way. You know, we'll see how it goes here in the next couple of weeks. I don't know, you know. So my hope is, my dream is, at some point in time, that there's carryover. There's development in your roster. There's retention. There are some additions year in and year out. You know that's going to happen. But you have to have ironclad blue-collar crew that keeps growing with you, so you can get better at all of the things that we are talking about here in terms of both sides of the ball.
Because obviously there's...
Before it falls out, just grab your phone.
Yeah, somebody just found a bunch of money in the parking lot, and it was mine. Guess I wasn't paying attention the other day in the parking lot when all my cash fell out of my... all $15 fell out of my pocket. But that's the great thing about being in Rhode Island. Somebody called me and turned it in. They figured it was mine. Nice people here. Yeah.
Obviously, it's a philosophical discussion, obviously, in terms of everyone wants to recruit the perfect two-way prospect like Devin Carter, Jared Terrell, let's say, who can play both ends. But I think a lot of times in a unit of 5, you're going to have to marry an E.C. Matthews, who's an offense-first player, and like a T.J. Buchanan, who's a defense-first player. And there's room in team building for that.
Yes.
Obviously.
There's roster management. There's needs. There's fit. There's culture. There's all those things. There's embodying, you know, the head coach and who he values. And I do think that there's some pieces to that where you have to have some junkyard dogs on your team, so to speak, that bring an element of winning. You know, playmakers, not necessarily shooters or scorers, but playmakers, guys that are, you know, they make that game-winning back tip, in transition that nobody gives them credit for. They block that shot. They stop the other guy on the other team with 3 minutes to go in the game. There's those guys you call on at different stages of the game or team when you need some toughness. You know what I mean? There's those toughness guys. And I think we had them, not only the guys you mentioned, but we've had them all over. I look at our time at Dayton, and I look at Kyle Davis. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's a freshman I would put in the game with 22 seconds to go, and he hadn't played 1 minute, and I'd put him on the other team's best player for one play. You know, all the way down the line. There's those blue collar guys, man. There's those dirty work guys. Those guys that they're about the right things, and you have to blend them in. Yes, there's a piece to that when you're trying. Now, when you need a lot, and at the end of the day, you got to get better in a lot of areas. You know, at some point in time, you know, you have to find some skill level, whatever it may be. But there's a component to the role definition. You know, what's this guy do? How does he help you win? It has anything to do maybe with offense, defense, but you're right, yeah. I think you have to have those pieces in there.
Coach, with this whole transfer portal thing, would you say it's like a gift and a curse? On one hand, you talked about being able to recruit a kid for 2 years and you know the kid's family, and then it seems like with the portal, it might be a quick fix, but you might not know what you're getting.
Yeah, I would agree 110% with everything you said. You know, I think the old school philosophy of being able to recruit guys at 9th, 10th, 11th grade, you know, and the relationship, the trust that's in there, and, you know, that's one way of doing it. I think the portal is very fast. I think the portal is analytics involved. I think the portal is quick evaluations, especially if you don't know sort of, you know, the background or whatnot. It's speed dating in many ways. And there's also an element of, there's tiers too. You know, there's tiers with NIL, there's tiers with the level of play that guys are coming from. So it's not like, hey, the portal's opened up, let's jump in and go grab anybody we want either. I mean, there's an art to it. You gotta fit. But I think, you know, from a characteristic standpoint, I really start to look at like NFL, like when you draft people, what are you drafting? You know, at the end of the day, can you do the background enough in a short amount of time to know you're going to get the characteristics that matter the most? Intelligence, hard work, work ethic, you know, position by position, are they up to snuff in terms of the talent level, the skill level, how you play, character, you know, I think you have to move into that mode as much as anything statistically that you're looking at anymore in the portal. You have to kind of dive in on that other side of things a little bit more in your own unique way about what you value there as well. You know, winning. You know, what's the track record? You know, things of that nature. So I think it's an ever-evolving process. Everyone's going to have their own way of doing it. I think from our standpoint, my hope is that the portal isn't 90% of what we do every day. There's a component to that, but I think you have to have your method in the portal to make sure the best you possibly can, that there's a great fit. And I also think when you're dealing with the portal, role is everything. Role is everything. I mean, if the role doesn't fit a guy who's coming in, whether it be minutes played or position played or expectations, you know, it's a disaster in some cases as well. So you probably see that all over the country as well, where things don't work out.
All right. Thank you all very much, guys.
Thanks, Art.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll talk next week, but